Any good? Need help? You need me to solve this evening?
I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order on this beautiful, moist May the 9th, 2023. So thank the Lord for rain. We'll start off with roll call. Jessica Middle, Larry Jackson, here. Liliana Welliver, here. Robin Kauser, Richard Laughlin, Sam Childers, here. Joe Salinas,
Here.
Amy Slaughter.
Here.
Okay. Let me move to item number 2, the chairman's statement. The Historic Review Board is an advisory board appointed by the City Council. My name is David Bullion, chair of this board. It is the function of this board to consider all applications for certificates of appropriateness for properties in the historic district and for landmarks. In considering whether to approve or disapprove of an application for a certificate of appropriateness, the Historic Review Board shall be guided by the City of Fredericksburg design guidelines and standards and the Historic Preservation Ordinance for the city. If anyone present wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to any item on today's agenda, please sign up on the Persons to be Heard sheet at the back of the room there. It is not necessary to sign up to speak if you are the owner of or representative for a project on the agenda this evening. You will be called on as the case is called. Approval by this board does not take the place of any type of permit. Permits must be obtained for all work. No work of any type is to be started without obtaining the appropriate city permits after a certificate of appropriateness has been issued by the Historic Preservation Officer. So with that, we'll move on to approval of last month's minutes. Hopefully the board has had a chance to look at those. Is there any comments or edits? And I'll take a motion to accept as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I have no edits to the minutes and move that we approve those as they are.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting minutes from last month, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Moving on to item number 5, certificate of appropriateness applications. Individual consideration. We'll start with application 23-119-302 East Orchard. So if that's your application, please come up to the podium and introduce yourself and tell us what you'd like to do.
Hi, I'm Michael Atkins, and I'm the contractor on that job. Judy Lukenbach is on vacation, so I'm here to answer any of y'all's questions.
Okay.
We already started on the first phase of the old house remodel, and we're trying to get approved to do the large addition on the back.
Okay. Anna, you want to walk us through?
Sure. This is 302 East Orchard, and the applicant is requesting a CFA for the addition of a 2,955 square foot living space to the original craftsman style home, plus a 576 square foot detached garage. Let's see, the new structure will add a large living area, wet bar, and kitchenette. The detached garage will be located toward the rear of the property. The materials include a hyphen structure between the old and new sections of the house that'll have a carved stone in the Austin limestone material, and that'll be installed on the side facing the neighbor's house for a distinct transition between the original house and the new construction. The opposite side of the hyphen facing the old tank house will be finished in board and batten to coordinate with the siding on that one wall of the tank house. The fireplace chimney in the corner next to the 2-story addition will use the same carved stone as the hyphen structure. The larger portion of the new addition will be finished in stucco. Windows and doors will be trimmed with lintel and sill details resembling the stone, similar to the photo referenced. The roof throughout the structure will be the same, the 24 gauge metal roofing in the rustic red. They're proposing Marvin Ultimate Signature Collection windows. Let's see, the stucco will be an integrated color matching Benjamin Moore deer path, stucco skirting and board and batten, and installation of a new privacy fence for the side and backyards. And the front yard will remain unfenced. They're also requesting approval to replace the existing pressed metal skirting with a block pattern of concrete block. I've cited the relevant sections for the additions, and the applicant has worked with staff to adhere to the design guidelines. The addition will attach to a previous addition and will not impact any original material. The use of the hyphen pushes the mass of the addition to the rear of the large lot. The color scheme ties the addition to the original. The historic H tank house will be retained and incorporated into design. The proposed change in skirting is recommended as it uses a similar block style as the existing pressed metal, but provides better protection for the foundation, and staff recommends approval.
I have one question related to the material,
Sure.
just a clarification. It says the hyphen structure between the old and new sections of the house will have a carved stone product by Blackstone Stucco. So it's not actual stone, but it's a stucco product that's going to look like stone. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I had one question for city staff is, how does the two-story addition fit in with the context of the neighborhood?
The house across the street is 2-story. I can't say that I really did a thorough analysis on that since it was pushed back, and the design guidelines say it can go up another 10 feet as it goes back. So I didn't really do an analysis of other
But it
two-story
doesn't
structures.
overpower the neighborhood.
I didn't make that assessment.
Michael, I have a question for you on the
Sure.
roof, if I may.
Yeah.
The material will be 24 gauge pre-painted metal,
Yes. Standing seam.
standing seam.
Yeah.
Details, ridge and hips, will they be seamed or will they be cap style?
They'll all be seamed.
Seamed?
Yes. Everything
Okay.
will be seamed.
And 18-inch seam center?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
It's a beautiful design.
In the presentation, you mentioned that there was damage to the original house and the metal siding wasn't salvageable.
Yes.
Are there any provisions to allow for ventilation in the block that you're putting in there? Because nothing's indicated on the drawings.
Yes. We were gonna make sure and have the vents to match that block, to put those in around while we did that. I think previously when they had the metal, they really hadn't ventilated it that well. And we got the house re-leveled. That's why we had to pull it all off. So this time we're going to make sure we've got vents in there for all that.
It looks like there's been some concrete columns placed in there to support the new
Yes.
structure.
Yes.
Are the block going to tuck underneath the water table like the siding did, or are you?
Yes, we're looking at they make some that's about 4 inches thick. So we're going to be using that to where it'll basically be exactly like it was.
Okay.
There'll be a little piece of metal edging flashing, but then the block will tuck right back under there.
Because there's been a lot of applications where they just shoved it out in front of it.
Yeah, that doesn't look good.
Any further questions for the applicant or for staff? If not, entertain a motion.
Uh, Just a point of discussion for the board. In terms of the design, the colors, the materials, I thought it was really beautiful. The only thing that came to the forefront of my mind as I was reviewing this was basically the density. And it seems like the addition is going to be taking up quite a lot of the lot. So to your point about how does the two-story affect the street, I kind of had that same question about the density and the amount of structure that would actually be taking up the lot. So is that a concern of anyone else's other than myself?
I think the question for Anna, is there any thing in the guidelines that tells us how much you can add on compared to the original square footage?
It does not specifically say anything about square footage or comparing it to the size of the original house. No. The ADUs have square footage, but not additions specifically in the design guidelines.
We have clear guidelines on impacts on the elevations, and when available, actually hide it to the side of the structure, which this design has done quite a nice job. This is a unique structure in that you've got two visible sides.
I did find something in lot coverage. It's 3.4.1 B and C. Consider maintaining historic site development patterns to the relevant complex type. For example, residential rear yards should maintain a central open core for domestic and recreational use. I don't know if that pertains to this, but as I said, I thought it was a beautiful design. I just had one concern about the density on the lot.
And the question for city staff, they are compliant with all city code and our guidelines, correct? As far as density.
When they submit for the building permit, they'll have to show their pervious versus impervious coverage. And so that'll be reviewed at that time. But just eyeballing it, it looks okay because it is a very large lot and there is still a lot of landscaped area on the Lincoln Street side and then back behind the garage. So I think with those two large spaces, it's going to be, and a front yard setback of 25 feet in R1 usually keeps a lot of space as far as the impervious calculations.
Thank you.
Is there any more detail on the garage doors? Are they just flush, or what are they?
On this new part over here, I do not have those. I'm not sure what she's specified those at yet. I think they're just regular flush garage doors, but she's going to try to keep a design that matches what we did on what she has drawn on the old garage that's hooked to the tank house. Those ones we're having made out of wood. They'll be thick wood ones with inset panels. And I think she's going to try to match those on the new garage. But they'll be actual garage doors that are raised, instead of these ones open the other way.
Right.
I was just looking for clarification because the elevation indicates they're flush.
Right.
And the material's not called out on them since they're such a big part of the elevation.
Like I said, she hasn't given me a specification on those yet, so I really can't answer that for you.
Obviously, we could make that part of your motion to, conditional approval with city staff's, final sign off on the garage doors, if that's an issue.
I'll make a motion to approve application at 214 East Orchard, subject to approval of the garage doors by staff and the density verified at the permitting time.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. Further discussion or concerns?
But 214, sorry.
302 East Orchard.
That's 214.
You got the right one, Shelby?
I'm in that address.
You want to repeat that, Shelby, just so we have that right for the record? Application number and address and motion, please.
Yes, sir. I have Richard Laughlin made a motion to approve application number 23-119, conditioned upon staff approval of garage doors and density verification of staff per building permit.
So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You bet. Moving on to item B, application 23-132 at 118 East Main Street. So, Mr. Klein, would you come to the podium and tell us what you'd like to do?
Hello, everybody. This building was built in 1894, 1897. The designer was Alfred Giles. The building has, on the exterior, changed, as it's self-explained by Hannah in her description. The windows, there's an addition made to the rear about 1945. One of the family members is watching right now, but I know it's around that 1940 time. And that's the concrete addition in the rear. You saw the pictures of it. And the purpose of hiring me was to make sure that the windows would be restored back to the appearance as they were. And then they also want to do that to the addition, and they want to create a second means of egress for the second floor. Their objective is to try to return the interior of that second floor apartment, which was built for Temple Smith's family when they constructed that building for the bank. The east side of the building, which you'll see one of the historic photographs, which was a really good find, showing the that vacant lot next to it right there. That actually shows that open lot was their backyard, and so they had doors on the first floor, and so the windows are exposed at the top, but I could never get any real good pictures. The picture that I show that is one of the historic windows is on the facade, is on the street side. And about 1974, I climbed up on the face of that building and measured it for my class. Gerald Sagner, who's another fellow Fredericksburger, and I recorded this facade. And it's in the archives, and I'm getting a copy of it. But we documented it. But the interesting thing is that window right there is representative of what the windows look like. And so the owners wish to return that. These two windows, they've been able to get up there and be able to reach those windows. The ones on the west side, there's an alleyway, and they've covered up the lower windows with a mechanical system and blocked in the lower portion, which is a rental space. Richard worked on that space in 1970. It's about the time when the boots were installed on the canopy. I don't know if Richard had anything to do with the boots, but that area on that facade I'm not touching, but I'm replacing the windows that you'll see here on the upper part, and they were replacing the windows on the back, which again have no historic precedence. The lower windows will be left alone because they're blocked in. And then on the east side, you'll see that all those windows will be replaced. We're going to install the door on the second opening. And then, of course, we're building an access stairway from the rear. That's really not visible from the public, but provides safety exit. Any questions?
Before we get there, Anna, you want to walk us through this?
I'm sorry, I took over without letting her speak.
Well, I think Stan covered it. Staff is recommending approval since the reproductions are based on the existing historic window. And the changes to the rear addition are not historic and appropriate to add egress. So staff recommends approval as presented.
It is such a significant building to Main Street, so thank you for your application. Stan, I think it's very thorough, so I appreciate it.
It's one of the 3 buildings that Alfred Giles did in Fredericksburg.
Questions for Stan or for city staff? Richard, do you want to rebuttal any of his comments about your work?
No.
I couldn't remember that I remember that far back to 1912 when he measured it.
1912. You did that work in 2017. Yeah. And I recorded the building and site before. That might be before some of you were born.
I don't think so. Maybe 1, maybe 2.
I'd like to see how you note to the side, Joe. How do you do a crimp ridge on 24 gauge metal?
Right.
Do you look forward to see that?
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry.
There are no further questions for the applicant. Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that certificate of appropriateness for application 23-132 be approved as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion or concern? If not, all those in favor of approval of the motion, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Okay.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, Stan, and welcome home. So, let's move on to item number C, application 23-129 at 328 East Main Street. So, if you'd like to join us at the podium, introduce yourself. Tell us what you'd like to do.
Good evening, I'm Mike Hagee. I'm the CEO of the Ethel Newitz Foundation, and we own the Nowbald building there on Main Street. Stan's already gone. I'm not a historian like Stan, but that's an important part of our history here, where Admiral Nimitz's grandfather gave that piece of property and helped her build the Nowbald building when she married an individual by the name of Nowbald. Back in the 1800s. We're, as you saw from the pictures in your package, we'd like to replace 9 of those windows. They're beyond repair. There are 5 on the east side, 1 on the north side, and 3 on the west side. We've got I have John and JJ Price from Hill Country Doors and Windows. I'm sure you all know them, and they've looked at them very carefully. We absolutely want to replace them so it maintains what that building has looked like over the years.
Okay.
And that's what we're requesting, Mr. Chair.
Right. Anna, you want to walk us through?
Sure. So the application's for 328 East Main Street. They are requesting 9 new windows. The medium-rated structure retains many original features, and replacing original material should always be a last resort. If the windows are beyond repair, they should be replaced in kind materials and with material and dimensions that match the original features. Wood-clad windows, as those presented, have been approved in cases where repair was no longer an option.
Open up to the board. Are there questions for the applicant or concern?
Hannah, is it your opinion that the windows are beyond repair?
I did not have the time to go inspect them, so I was unable to make that determination myself. So relying on the window experts for that determination.
There's not enough wood left for us to paint them.
Just one clarifying question for me. So that the patterns of each of the 9 windows will be duplicated to the current for each of them.
That is correct, sir.
One thing that I didn't mention in the write-up, usually with these, they have an integrated screen, but the screen really impacts the quality of the visibility through the glass. And we've requested before that integrated screen not be included.
General, will they have the same molding pattern on the outside?
The same what pattern, I'm sorry?
Molding pattern, the trim pattern, will it be the same?
That's correct. John?
Yes, we'll have the only details that I can't readily duplicate. Some of them have some grooves and trim, about a 5 or 6 inch trim board. I'll see it on the current picture. But there are some vertical grooves cut in. Here you go. That I can't reproduce. These are a gel wood on wood window, wood both sides, like we use at the Parish House out in City Park. They will be as closed. We would retrim. The gel one also manufactures a 1x4 and 1x6 wood trim that has got a 50-year warranty on the trim. Their special treating process, and we will recreate the trim, including the little crown tops, to look as close as it must be in West Texas. And I presume they will paint them. As the process goes on over the years, they'll have to continue. But I feel like the window will last a long time and will serve them well, but preserve the building. When I first saw the building, I might disagree on one down at the end of Creek Street or west end, but this one I take a personal interest in recreating it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I also painted those windows in 1980, so it looks like the last time they were painted.
I think that's probably the last time.
I don't think that they have any head flashing on them, so y'all may consider cutting in a metal head flashing, and they may last a lot longer because they were just surface applied from what I remember. And the water's running straight down the wall. So I think cutting in a metal flashing above them would be a good way to get them watertight.
Richard, if you're looking for a job, will you come over and you can paint again if you'd like?
They were only guaranteed 30 years.
His day rate's a little different. Any further questions?
General, as a historian and archivist, I have to ask, is the foundation's plan that are you going to retain these windows or repurpose them in any way?
Those windows, that window right there,
The windows that you'll remove, yeah.
We don't plan on
Just
doing
curious. Okay, thanks.
Would you like them?
No. No,
Actually, I would the glass. I'd be interested in talking to you about the glass, harvesting the glass, because it's very difficult to find. If it's original glass, and it may not be, but
We'd be happy to talk with you about that, Mr. Chair.
Anna, since you mentioned the screens, it does look like on the double hung that there are screens. It says it's called Better View Mesh Brilliant White Screen. So do we need to make some?
They supply a full screen, but never been my vision to use it. Now, current windows don't have screens on them. And that would really take away.
Yeah, we don't plan to put the screens up.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And Jolglen windows, were they the most economical option? Did you explore other brands like Marvin windows or something like that? Was
We-
Jolglen the most economical?
I'm sorry, say that once again.
Jolglen windows, were they the most economical choice?
We were concerned about two things. Replacing windows so we keep the same feel and look, and also being able to afford them. And in our opinion, these windows met both of those criteria.
I'd like to move that we accept 23-129 and 328 East Main Street as requested.
Is there a second for that?
A second.
Any further discussion or concern?
I have one other point. John, are the current windows single hung or double hung? Good. All right, I just want to verify because you're going back with double hung. Do you have a single hung option if that's what's there? I don't know if it's a big deal, but it's just observation.
I would imagine originally they probably would have been double.
I'm still worried. Not here.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
If not, all those in favor of approval application, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Application carries. Thank you.
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Mr. Chair. Board.
Last application of the evening, application 23-113 at 505 West Schubert. If you're here for the representative at the application, please come up, introduce yourself, and tell us your plan.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Williams. I want to add a additional unit in the back for my personal use only. It's quite a large lot, 0.5, what is it? It's almost a half an acre. So it's a huge lot. And I've owned the property for about 13 years. And I've been wanting to build something in the back forever, and I just never have done it until now. So I'm hoping to get approval. So I would like to keep it in keeping with the front structure, all white, Sunday house style, very similar in look. Right now there's a fence. I don't know. I guess we're not showing the photos. The lot is kind of divided in half. So where the house would be built would be behind that fence in the back. So there's another quarter acre behind there. The current plans are to use the driveway that I have on the left side that we just showed, and then that would continue on to the back of the lot. And we're going to add a garage in the back that's attached to keep the house very similar in feel and about the same size.
Anna, you want to walk us through?
Sure. So 505 West Schubert. Staff did an analysis on the accessory buildings and lot coverage, and based on what's submitted, is recommending approval and finds it to meet the design guidelines for new accessory dwelling units.
Okay. Board, questions for either the applicant, Ms. Williams, or for city staff?
Yeah, I actually have a question just to confirm 3, 4, 5 lot coverage H. So if it's a dwelling building, then it could take more than 50% of the primary building square footage. Is that correct?
Right, so the ADU is G, right? So this accessory dwelling unit, and then the accessory would be a shed or a garage. So in this case, we've got both put together.
And actually, I've got to kind of follow on to that. So in 3.4.1G, so this is an R1 neighborhood as well, right? I presume.
Correct.
So the accessory, the ADU, shall not be a larger footprint, right?
Yes.
So, albeit very close, I think there's 24 feet, that the ADU is 24 feet larger than the existing footprint. Is that correct? Based on the numbers in the application. So I believe, just for clarity, the existing structure was 720 foot footprint, and then the proposed structure is 744.
Right. Again, that's if without adding the garage. Or, I'm sorry, with adding the garage.
Right. So the application as presented is slightly larger than the footprint.
The total, because you have an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, and you have essentially an accessory building combined. Yes.
And I'm not opposed.
It's considerably larger because the porches aren't included.
Right.
The first one, 1720, is total footprint.
Right.
So,
I mean, personally, I like the design. It's a huge lot, and obviously a lot can handle it. But if it's reminding the board, if the application does not fit our guidelines, then we need to quote an exception to the guidelines.
It's only a recommendation. It's a low-rated structure.
If it's medium and high-rated, it's recommended. Or no, it's required, and for a low-rated structure like this, it's only a recommendation, right?
Ms. Williams, is this what the house looked like when you purchased it?
Right there?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
no, it looked like the picture I sent you. I had it repainted recently.
So
I've never seen that picture though. I'm glad I got to see it.
Yeah, that's the survey from 2002. So
Huh.
so that's why I guess they got a low rating, because they couldn't see much of it.
Too much alterations. Yeah. So just for clarity, Hannah, so given that it's a low rating, it does not exceed our guidelines on the footprint. My interpretation was that it was too large, but it could be mistaken.
Well, I think if you take out the footprint of the garage, it doesn't exceed.
It's the garage. Well, the garage is.
I'm sorry. Footprint is
The AC area is 700 or 1744, not including the porches or garage. The existing footprint is 1720.
the square footage of the new building as proposed with the AC area and the porch is 2223.
Mine says 27.
The garage out.
Right.
So the new building and the porch is 2,223 square feet. So it's considerably more.
yes with the porches.
Does the original building have?
Yes. Do you know if he took those the square footage of the porches in his calculation for the existing house?
I think Richard was correct. The porches were separate. Because they're not air conditioned. So, but you're not going to see this house from the street. It's like a huge lot. There's going to be a fence in between, so I don't think anybody's gonna.
You're keeping the fence in between them?
Right, yeah, because the front unit is a short-term rental, and I want separation of space. The back unit's gonna be for me personally.
So it sounds like I was corrected. It is significantly larger than the existing footprint. So if there's an approval, just please state the exception to our guidelines to allow that. Whoever makes the motion.
I guess part of the problem is based on the guidelines, we can't approve it. And I know you're going to use it for your personal use, but somebody down the road may not.
Let's have that
The use
discussion.
has no bearing. I mean, if there, it can't be another short-term rental. R1 doesn't allow that. And it's a recommendation. It's not a requirement. It is a low-grade property.
Yes, just so for
Okay,
clarity,
just
if
clarifying.
it's a medium or a high-rated building, then our guidelines are, it is required. But low rating, it's a little bit more of a gray area. Recommended. So the other thing I would challenge the board to consider is the impact on the surrounding concept of the neighborhood. How would this structure impact the concept?
Richard built a house next door to me recently.
Which way or which?
If you're facing the houses to the left, it's a stucco house, really pretty. And it's the same size lot, I believe. And I think they're gonna want to build something in the back as well.
Google Maps.
I know this house, and I would agree that the profile, you will not be able to see it from the screen, it is a deep part, and Schubert is a dead end street.
Mm-hmm.
You guys like to do? Okay. So there's, there's a house to the east. There's a house there now.
Yeah,
We approved.
that Richard built.
And then to the west, on the other side, didn't we approve a new barn or a new garage there as well?
It recently sold.
It is. So
There is an old garage there right now.
so they never.
Nobody's doing it. It has a volleyball court.
So Anna, in your opinion, does the application comply with our design guidelines?
I think looking at the lot and the lack of visibility of the structure and the overhead, this map view for the neighborhood, looking at all the roofs, I don't see that it'll have a negative impact. but it does not meet the letter based on because the existing house is 2-story, right? And so it's the footprint. I just can't tell if the architect included the porches or not. I think if you took away the porches, I mean, she's got 479 square feet of porches on the proposed new, which are included. Those are the dashed lines.
So the question is in the square foot calculation of the existing structure, are the current porches included or not? Right? Is that your issue?
Yeah.
Just for your thoughts.
Okay.
The reason why we're really looking at to the letter of the law is just to make sure that your application is compliant and doesn't exceed our guidelines. Because if they do exceed the guidelines, then it kind of opens up a big can of worms. So, as for instance, your next door neighbor could use your applications against you to actually build something that's maybe not so pretty to your side.
Right.
So we've got to be kind of careful on what we
I
do
understand.
if we go
Yeah.
outside of our guidelines.
Yeah, I totally understand. I just know it's such a huge lot and you're not really going to see it. And I know the neighbor to the left side is going to want to be wanting to build something, but I think we all want to keep the historic look.
Right. And well, you wouldn't want your next door neighbor to build something obtrusive to you.
Right. Of course not.
either.
Yeah.
So that's why we're trying to.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah.
So that calculation is with porches because the main area is only 1,000 square feet.
Okay. So just so we're clear, 1720 is the overall footprint of the existing structure, all inclusive of AC'd area and porches. So that's the number we should find. Is that correct?
Yes.
So basically, not including the garage as part of the application, we're trying to reconcile between the existing footprint of 1720 and the application footprint of 2223. Is that right? So that's the rub.
So I'm trying to keep it a single story, but I mean, if I made it 2-story, then I guess I could add a lot more square footage. Is that correct?
Potentially.
Okay.
So roughly we're 29% over. So. And again, yeah, we're about 29% over the existing structure footprint. So.
And that's without the garage.
That is without the garage. Yeah.
Footprint to footprint, you're about 40%.
Exactly. Yeah. And the language in the guidelines says footprint, not square footage.
So is there any relief if she detaches the garage and makes 2 buildings instead of 1.
I mean, I think your analysis will still be the same.
It'll still
I think
be-
you're still going to be at those
it'll still be
numbers.
Right, but just smaller buildings.
I know, but just
I think the house is basically the same, but I just would like to have some porches. The 2 porches at the current house are very small. There's a small front porch and then there's a tiny little back porch. That's all it has. Whereas today's standards, that's not typically what you want to have.
just throwing out some different options for exceptions and less and come up with others, but potentially given the lot size, the large lot size, that would be possible exceptions to allow for their overage. And also the context of the existing neighborhoods, the impact of existing structures as well. Something to consider.
I mean, is there anything on this you could cut back? I mean, the 3 porches, the front porch is rather large. 12 by 10. Well,
I don't know if I need that back porch. I probably need something back there just so you don't walk into mud or dirt, or I guess it could be some kind of gravel. And I guess as well as the side porch could be maybe black stone with gravel or something like that. So maybe that doesn't need to be impervious cover.
Rich, what's the number to try to get to?
I'm also looking at the width of this new building being 70 feet, and the old building looks to be about 40 feet, the original structure, in width. So it's considerable.
Yeah, it's just not visible from the
Yeah.
front elevation and given the depth of the lot. So I agree with you that the mass is much larger, but taking into consideration the size of the lot, the neighbors.
Me, presidents.
Yeah,
that's a tough one here.
Yeah. Apart from the size, is there anything else that is worth discussing? Well, that's good. The design's good so far. So
Okay.
the only issue outstanding is just the overall footprint.
Details.
Well, that's what we're here.
He's showing a ridge cap on here, so we don't want a ridge cap.
Right. Right. So the number to hit is 1720, correct? Not to exceed 1720. Without quoted exception. Got it. Say that in.
I said, it seems like you're being penalized by having a 2-story house in front because your square footage is all right. I think perfect close.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it as very similar to the same house as possible, but trying to keep it a 1-story. That's my goal.
I actually like that the front building is a 2-story and the back building is a 1-story.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, keep a lower profile in the back.
Yes.
Given that I don't vote unless there's a tie, I would, if I had my voting hat on, I would avoid trying to force the applicant to go 2 stories just to hit a number, given the size of the lot. So I would agree with Amy that the layout is much better having a 2-story up front, 1-story in the back. Is anyone brave enough to make a motion? One way or the other, contingency, conditional, no condition.
Well, I can make a statement, but it's not making a motion, but if we are using the guidelines and standards, and if that's to protect neighbors, neighborhoods, everything else, 40% over the footprint is considerable. It's not just a little bit over the footprint. So, I'm not making a motion, just making a statement.
I think it's just the house is the same size, size. I think it's just the porches we added were taking up. But like I said, maybe we could do some stonework instead of concrete work on some of the back porch and the side porch. Black stone with some material, so it's not really a porch. It's more of a.
The footprint is basically calculations from roof line down, is it not? So it's not so much the concrete versus gravel; it's the covering. So, is that right?
Well, it's including the porches. That's where we're throwing this off because the houses are same size. My understanding.
I think that's incorrect based on the. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But it appears that your existing structure is 1,720 square foot, which is inclusive of your porches in the existing building. So that's the number we're trying to hit. And so, with our definition of footprint, we're at 2223, which is not just AC, but we're trying to compare that about 500. That's the issue.
But that's including the porches, right?
Yes, ma'am. And that's our footprint calculation.
That's what I'm
porches.
saying. Maybe I could do some kind of stonework as opposed to concrete.
But that
doesn't help.
No, ma'am, because our definition of footprint includes what's covered by a roof line, not just whether it's concrete or.
Okay, so the 2 porches he included, I believe. Unless I'm wrong. Okay. So maybe.
When you say stonework, just to clarify, are you talking about not covered, just a patio?
Yeah.
Okay, so that makes a difference. Oh, what she's saying makes a difference.
Without a cover.
Yeah.
Without a roof.
Right.
Okay, so
now we're getting
getting closer.
Right.
We're definitely getting closer.
Okay. Well, no.
Just to clarify what you're saying take the side porch off, which reduces the width on the west side porch. You take the back porch off, and then
make it more of like a decorative stone patio instead
just
of
a patio, not a cover.
Yeah.
With no cover on it. No cover.
Yeah.
How close does that put you?
I have just a question for you. Would that please you, or would you miss having those porches? Is that something, would you rather look going back to the drawing board and seeing where the design could change a little bit and not give up your porches?
Well, I definitely want some porches. I mean, it's important to me. I mean, the side porch probably doesn't need to be that large. So we could look at that. I mean, it would like to be nice to have a little bit of it covered, just so if you go out in the rain, you're.
Yeah.
The master bedroom side porch, it looks like by the measurements here, is about 150 square feet.
Yeah, I think that's something we can reduce for sure.
And 124 on the back. So 148, 144 and 124. 268.
About half of there, right? Almost a little over half.
Would you consider moving that bedroom door to the courtyard, the patio area you have in the front?
I'm sorry.
If
By
you
the
did away with the
master?
west porch, would you consider moving that door that exits the master bedroom over to the patio? Then you'd still have access to an area.
Oh, like to the front patio? That definitely could be a possibility.
Just a reminder, there is a difference between required versus recommended. This is a low rate construction. You guys like to do?
Do you know what the roof pitch is compared to the original building?
I don't, but I can find out and let you know. I know there was going to be a vault in the living room. I don't know the height. If it was says the
We make an exception at the site. The guideline in section 2.
Or make an exception based on your thoughts, we don't have a list of exceptions, but
We don't have to cite it in this case. Okay,
just the rationale for why.
thank you.
It's my understanding.
On the garage door, would you be willing to put 2 doors there just to help with the scale of that?
I really want it to be super cute. I have a picture of it, and it has like that trellis coming out and having the little windows. It's not drawn like that. It's going to be really cute, but it's always easier to get vehicles in one door as opposed to 2. But it's going to be darling, I promise.
Can we see that picture?
Yeah, it's on my phone. I sent it to my. You want to see it right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's part of the consideration.
And it's okay. She's our chair designer. Anna, you look like you're in deep thought here. You care to expand on any of your comments previously? Or... It didn't appear the size was that big of an issue, given that it was a low-rated structure. In your comments, is that still the case?
A large lot, I think, plays the most impact into it, or the biggest role. And I think I talked to your architect maybe about a separate garage. I mean, it is a large garage, and so if it was separated and had a breezeway connecting it, that would help break up the masses.
That's going to increase the impervious cover because you're going to have a walkway with the covered. That's not a porch I want to sit out on.
I'll make a shot at this, and if you don't like it, you can come back with a new design.
Okay. I'm open.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve application 23-133, 505 West Schubert, based on removing the side porch to the west completely, relocating that door to the patio out of the master bedroom, removing the back porch to the south completely, and cutting the front porch back by 4 feet so that there's an offset between the garage and the porch roof lines, and adding your trellis that you showed us in the windows in the garage doors, and also verifying that the roofing will have a turned ridge cap, and we're assuming it's galvanized because you haven't submitted a color.
Oh, I was going to match either the color.
Hang on, we're in the middle of a motion, so you can't have discussion during the motion, right?
Okay.
So assuming it's the same, assuming it's galvanized turned ridge in the motion.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Now open for discussion. So, point of clarity.
I guess she has discussion.
So the back of the house, I can't have any kind of cover back there because if you have to walk out, in the rain, it's gonna be a muddy mess.
You can always come back with another design. I'm just trying to get this one.
Point of clarity for me, so given those modifications, what's the reduction in the application? What number do you think we're close to based on your back to it?
It gets us back to, we're getting away with about 450 square foot off of what's shown here, which is, yeah, gets us back to about 150 foot over. And that's basically in what you saw. So, but it does reduce the overall width down. I think it's currently 70 feet. So it gets us down to 62 feet, which is more in liking with.
So for clarity, it's a big reduction to the current application, but for the record, we're still over on our design guidelines. So would you like to make, what's your exception to the guideline?
With the exception being the size of the lot and the location of the accessory building on the property at the rear of the property.
Is that an amendment to your motion?
That is a continuation.
Okay.
However you want to do it.
And Shelby, who seconded that?
Joe.
Joe.
Joe did.
Joe. So Joe, give me second the original motion. Would you?
I'll second
with the
the
amended
addendum.
motion. So, do you have any questions on that motion before we vote on it, just for your benefit?
So what do y'all call that below, whatever it's, I don't know, whatever term that was. It's a low visibility or low, it's not like a high or medium. What is that
It's a low
term?
rating. It's the rating of the home.
Okay, so it's a low rating.
It's a low rated home, historic.
So I don't think the house is going to have much of an impact from the street, and it's going to be very similar to the same design of the original house. So I don't think anybody's even going to see the square footage back there. It's going to be very minimal.
I do have a question for Anna.
Go ahead.
Since it's an ADU, is she required to fence?
No requirement to fence them. She has you have an existing fence.
It's a hodgepodge of fences all around me.
If the front goes SDR.
No, I mean, it looks like she's proposing a pool, and the pool would need to be fenced. But she does not have to physically separate the structures with a barrier, no.
But from the neighbors. On the short term now?
It's already, I mean, the existing is a short-term rental currently.
Oh, you're not living there?
I've been living there quite a bit lately, but.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You're a good neighbor too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion? Just for clarity, Shelby, could you reread the motion so we know what we're voting on?
Sure. Mr. Richard Laughlin made a motion to approve, conditioned upon the removal of the side porch to the west, relocation of the master door to the patio, remove the back porch, front porch will be cut back 4 feet, add trellis to the garage, and a turned ridge cap, and an exception, and has found an exception given the size of the lot and location of the structure. Seconded by Joe.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign.
I'm opposed.
So that the count on that officially is
2 opposed and 6 approved.
I don't vote.
Yes.
So,
And 5.
Well,
Motion passed.
that motion carries. So if you'd like clarity on that, just get with Anna.
Okay.
Let me remind you that we do have an appeal process as well.
Okay.
If you don't like what we just did, there's an appeal process. Or if you would like to retool your design and resubmit, knowing what you know now,
Yeah.
as far as the footprint, you're welcome to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So I would have to wait till the next month.
to resubmit a
To
design,
resubmit, okay.
potentially, if it's, some of the stuff Anna is able to sign off,
Oh,
with
she is?
her authority.
Okay.
And so I would expect that if you kept to the same overall design, but you flipped the square footage, with porches, but you flipped the
Mhm.
footprint, I would assume that she would have the authority to sign off on it. So you
Okay,
wouldn't have to wait.
okay,
But at least now, you know, the big issue is the overall footprint. How does it compare to
Yeah.
the original structure?
right. What if the back of the house just had like a little shed roof and a tiny little something at least you could walk out on?
It's the overall, as long as the overall number fits on the
Okay.
footprint, however you want to distribute that between
Okay.
A-seat area or covered porch is totally your discretion.
Okay, all right, we'll work on that.
So I have a question. If, if you were to resubmit a design, cutting down the square footage but keeping the porches, wouldn't that need to come back here rather than to Anna? Because what Anna would be able to approve is what we approved on the motion.
Well, no, the motion is set, so
Right.
there's no changing the motion and approved.
Right.
So, but if any applicant wants to submit a new application
Mhm.
that is totally compliant with the guidelines,
Right.
then Anna has the authority to usually sign off.
Is that correct?
Colors and,
Because it's still gonna be new construction. If it's a brand new C of A with a different design, you're gonna see it. She
If-
submits something that meets the motion, then yes, I will
Right.
say it. I guess you're asking me
It
to
would-
make
it
those
would go on the
findings that
consent
what she
agenda.
submits matches the motion.
if a new construction fit within all the guidelines, it would go on the consent. So,
Yes.
Right.
point of reference.
So you would need to wait.
I would.
That
Okay.
would, yeah, just so that.
I'm
you're
gonna
clear.
get with my architect anyway and just kind of explain everything going on and see what we can do.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That is the end of our items. Anna, Director's report?
Yeah, just to keep you up to date with the comprehensive plan, the last open house that we had was specific to parks and the survey was specific to parks. But we had over 1,000 people respond to that survey. So our consultants are blown away that our second survey had nearly as many as the first survey respondents. So that's moving forward. The next open house will likely be at the end of August. And our next advisory committee meeting will likely be in July. So finding dates in the summer is always fun. All the boards and commissions are up for reappointments. And so we have Jessica, Robin, and Liliana that are up for reappointment. And Liliana is not going to be able to continue serving, so we'll be looking for a replacement. But we thank Liliana for her contribution and expertise, and thank you for the time and commitment.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely thank you for your time and resource, especially with your kids and everything. I know it's tough. So appreciate your impact. Sorry to have you go. I have just one update. Where are we on the demo by neglect on 311 East Travis, the one that kicked off last?
East Travis, I sent her letter certified, and code enforcement will issue a violation once that 90 days has passed, if she hasn't come in yet at that point. I will say we do have the grant applications are out, available for funding. There's $30,000 that the city has allocated for grant funding. I did send that to Ms. Jenkins as a resource, but I haven't seen an application returned yet.
When does that expire? When's the cutoff for that? For the grants?
Oh, the grant application is due May 31st.
May 31st. So we're taking as swift action as we can for that demo plan.
Yes.
I think we owe that to the neighbors. All right, unless there's any other items, discussion, one thing.
Yeah. On this last application, Anna, it would have been helpful to have the information on the pitch of the original house and the height. And there's no roof pitch on the new drawing here, just for future. And then the other thing, the building out at the old Fred Tech, the stone home, is that an HJ? You know, out on Tybydale Road where Fred Tech used to be, right past Ingram Ready Mix, the old machine shop.
Yeah. No.
There's a really nice stone building there that's in original condition. Yeah.
The city limit stops at Cove Road.
Yeah, it might be something you want to just drive by and look at, because it's pretty vulnerable as far as it could be torn down. Right past Hilda's.
Yeah, that's Hilda's on the other side.
Yeah.
It's very old structure.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's still all there.
The other one to consider is the gas station at the Y. That has another application that's since expired, and that might be something we throw back on the agenda to possibly say. Anything else? No, except motion to adjourn. If anyone wants to go home?
So move.
Okay. Sure. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Aye, aye.